The crack of my son's head hitting the pavement still haunts me. It was a sound no father should ever hear, sharp, final, like a promise being broken. My boy, Tim, just 11, lay crumpled at the feet of a smirking teenager who thought it was all a game. The kid's mother, Margaret, clapped her hands and sneered. That's what he gets for mouthing off. 5 minutes later, her son was begging for mercy. 10 minutes after that, she was the one trembling. By the end of the day, I made sure the whole neighborhood knew what happens when you cross a line with my family. It was a golden Saturday afternoon in the parking lot of Greenleaf Market, a cozy grocery store in the heart of Oakwood Hills, a suburban enclave just outside Chicago. The sun glinted off car hoods, and the air smelled of fresh-cut grass and barbecue smoke. Tim, fresh from his middle school science fair win, was practically bouncing beside me, his navy polo still crisp from the ceremony. He was rattling on about his solar panel project, his voice bright with dreams. I nodded, half listening, pushing our cart toward our old Ford Explorer, savoring a rare moment of peace. We'd grabbed the good stuff: ribeye steaks, heirloom tomatoes, a bottle of aged balsamic for a backyard grill session. Just us, no fuss, a small celebration. We'd snagged a shaded spot near the store's entrance, a lucky break. I popped the trunk, reaching for the first bag, when a souped-up Camaro roared into the spot next to us, tires screeching, bass thumping. The driver's door flew open, and out stepped a lanky kid, maybe 19, with slicked-back hair and a swagger that screamed trouble. He wore a leather jacket despite the heat, his eyes hidden behind aviators. He chewed gum like he was grinding down the world, staring at Tim with a smirk that made my skin crawl. "Dad?" Tim whispered. "Why's he looking at me like that?" I didn't know, but my gut told me this wasn't just a grocery run anymore. The kid pulled off his sunglasses, slow and deliberate, like a movie villain. "You're in my spot," he said, his voice dripping with entitlement. I kept my cool. "It's public parking, kid." He laughed, a sharp, ugly sound. "Not when my family practically owns this town. You think just anybody gets to park this close?" I ignored him, grabbing another bag, but he stepped closer. "Nice steaks," he sneered, eyeing our cart. "What? You hit the lottery or just swipe your EBT card?" Tim shrank behind me. I stepped in front of him, shielding him. "Back off," I said, low and steady. He didn't. "Name's Dylan," he said, squaring up. "Dylan Harper. My mom's Margaret Harper, president of the Oakwood Hills HOA. Maybe you've heard of her. Or maybe you're too busy pretending you belong here." Tim tugged my sleeve. "Dad, let's go." I was about to nod when Dylan leaned over and spat on the ground, inches from our cart. That was it. The air shifted, like the moment before a storm breaks. For a second, everything froze. Then Dylan stepped closer, too close, his breath reeking of mint gum and arrogance. I kept one hand on Tim's shoulder, trying to de-escalate. I've faced down worse than this kid factory floor fights, barroom standoffs, but this was different. This was about my son. "How about you pack your kid and your fancy groceries," Dylan said, "and crawl back to whatever hole you came from before someone calls the cops on a suspicious truck." Tim trembled. "Enough," I said, straightening. "Back off." Dylan's eyes gleamed, like he'd been waiting for this. "Or what, old man?" He moved fast, not at me, but at Tim. In a blink, he shoved my son with both hands. Tim stumbled, his head slamming into the Explorer's door with a sickening thud. He crumpled to the pavement, a thin line of blood trickling from his forehead. I was on my knees in an instant, cradling him. "Tim, look at me." His eyes were wide, scared. Behind me, Dylan laughed. "Oops," he said. Kid should have watched his step. Then Margaret appeared, striding out of the store in a pristine blazer, a Starbucks cup in one hand, her phone in the other. She took in the scene, her son grinning, my son bleeding, and smiled. "Well done, Dylan," she said. "Gotta teach these people their place." Rage surged, slow and cold, like ice cracking under weight. I stood, Tim whimpering behind me. Dylan's smirk faltered. He'd expected fear. He was wrong. Margaret sipped her coffee, unfazed. "People like you," she said, "think you can just waltz into Oakwood Hills and act like you belong. This is our community." I locked eyes with her. "Your son hurt my kid." She shrugged. "He'll live." I turned to Dylan, my voice ablade. "You touched my son." He opened his mouth, but I was done talking. I grabbed his jacket, yanked him forward, and slammed him onto the Explorer's hood. The thud echoed across the lot. Gasps rippled through the gathering crowd. Dylan squirmed, but I pinned him with an elbow to his back. Get off my son. Margaret shrieked, charging. I caught her wrist, redirecting her into a stack of cards with a clang. Her coffee spilled, her composure shattered. You assaulted us, she screamed. Your son assaulted mine, I shot back. Phones were out, recording. A security guard watched, frozen. Dylan groaned, sliding off the hood. I knelt beside Tim, lifting him gently. We're okay, buddy, I whispered. I stood, facing Margaret. This isn't over. But I underestimated her. Margaret didn't back down. She schemed. That night, after cleaning Tim's cut and tucking him in, I heard heels on my driveway. Margaret stood there, clipboard in hand, Dylan beside her, arm in a fake sling, smirking. We're handling this, she said, waving a cease and desist order. You've been reported for violence and community disruption. The HOA will have you out by next month. I stared, incredulous. Your son attacked my kid. Dylan snorted. Prove it. Margaret grinned. The store's footage? Gone. My brother manages the place. My fists clenched. You think you can bury this? She leaned in. This isn't about truth. It's about power. You'll lose everything. Something snapped, not loud, but final. I stepped forward. You came to my home, threatening my family. This ends my way. I tore her clipboard in half, tossing it at her feet. She laughed, but her eyes flickered with doubt. I turned my back, already planning. They wanted a fight? They'd get one. I didn't sleep. Tim's cry echoed in my head. Margaret's smug face burned behind my eyes. By dawn, I was at my desk, digging through HOA records. Margaret wasn't just president, she was a tyrant. Over 200 citations in a year, all targeting a handful of families. I called one, a retiree named Ellen. She fined me for my rose bushes, she whispered. Said they clashed with the neighborhood aesthetic. Another, a veteran named Carl, growled. She blocked my fence permit. Called it an eyesore. This wasn't about rules. It was control. Then my neighbor, Jack, a former cop, called. Dylan keyed my truck last night. Left a note. Keep quiet. I stormed outside. There was Dylan, cruising the street on a skateboard, flipping me off. That's it, I told Jack. Get your security footage. Every second. We weren't alone anymore. I called my old friend Mike, a lawyer who'd seen every HOA scam in the book. He laughed at Margaret's cease and desist. It's a joke. No signatures, no legal weight. She's bluffing. I rallied Ellen, Carl, and others. That night, 10 of us met in my living room, spreading out evidence finds, threats, photos of Dylan's vandalism. We had a case, and we had each other. The HOA meeting was Thursday, the community center packed, fluorescent lights buzzing. Margaret stood at the podium in a tailored suit, Dylan lounging beside her, smirking. I sat in the third row, a folder of evidence in my lap, Jack beside me. Margaret tapped the mic. We're addressing a wave of hostility in our community. I stood. You mean people standing up to your bullying? The room gasped. Dylan muttered something about crazy dads. I tossed my folder on the table. These are your fake meeting minutes, Margaret. Same typos, same lies. And this, I held up my phone, is Dylan trashing Carl's mailbox the day he claimed he was injured. The crowd murmured. Mike stood. Time-stamped footage, verified by weather records. He's lying. Margaret slammed the table. This is slander. I didn't stop. You fined Ellen for her flowers, blocked Carl's fence, and let your son terrorize us. You're not a leader. You're a dictator. Jack connected his laptop to the projector. The room fell silent as Dylan's attack on Tim played clear, undeniable. Margaret's breath caught. Dylan lunged for the plug, but Jack blocked him. Sit down, kid. A woman in the back stood. I moved to remove Margaret as president. Another voice seconded. Hands shot up, one by one. Margaret's face drained of color. Dylan bolted for the door. The vote was unanimous. She was out. But Margaret didn't slink away. Outside, she charged me, heels clicking like gunfire. You ruined me, she hissed. Dylan lunged. I caught his arm, shoving him back. Try it, I growled. Sirens wailed nearby. Someone had called the cops. Margaret grabbed Dylan, dragging him to their car. This isn't over, she screamed. I didn't flinch. For you it is. 3 weeks later, the courtroom was quiet, the air thick with tension. Margaret sat rigid, Dylan fidgeting beside her. The footage played again, Tim hitting the pavement. Margaret's voice. He deserved it. The jury didn't blink. I took the stand. My son was 11. He was carrying groceries. They attacked him, then tried to destroy us. Margaret stood. This is a setup. The judge's gavel cracked. Sit down. The verdict was quick, guilty. Dylan faced assault charges. Margaret, negligence and defamation. The HOA dissolved under public outrage. Margaret's name splashed across local news. I took Tim back to Greenleaf Market a week later. He hesitated at the parking lot, then walked tall. They won't come back, right, Dad? I smiled. Not a chance. A new guard nodded as we passed. We loaded our groceries in peace, the weight of months lifting. As we drove away, I glanced at Tim in the rearview mirror, his scar fading but still there. It wasn't about revenge. It was about a line, you don't hurt my family, and walk away. Violence leaves scar-son Tim on me. He flinches at loud voices, checks his scar when he thinks I'm not watching. But silence is worse. It lets bullies like Margaret and Dylan thrive. Standing up, even when it's messy, is the only way to stop them. So what do you think? Was I right to fight back, or did I go too far? Have you ever faced a bully and had to draw a line? Share your story in the comments. Let's talk about justice, violence, and what it takes to protect the ones you love. Your voice matters. Let's keep this conversation going.